Okay, so I think I should preface this video by letting you guys know of one little thing. I have no nostalgia towards the original Hocus Pocus, so I don't really think I'm gonna be having any real bias towards this sequel. Hocus Pocus 2 is on Disney Plus now, and the original three Sanderson sisters are back and they're wreaking havoc. I mean, that's pretty much the plot of this movie. I don't know what else you want me to say. But basically, there's three young high school girls who accidentally bring back the Sanderson sisters to modern-day Salem, and they must figure out how to stop these child-hungry witches from causing all kinds of problems. Before I continue with my thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what I thought of the original Hocus Pocus, which came out back in 1993. This is a cult classic for all that it's worth. People who grew up in the 90s absolutely loved this movie. They would watch it every Halloween. I know a lot of people that I do plays with who love this film. I borderline like it. I think there's a lot of funny elements in there. I think Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy make a great trio. And there were a lot of really inventive things that came around with Hocus Pocus, namely Thackeray Binks. Number one, shout out to my former coworker who used to call me Zachary Binks on the clock. Tyler, you're funny. And number two, who names their kid Thackeray? Like, that's just a name you never hear. But that brings me to my biggest positive of Hocus Pocus 2. It's these three actresses coming back here. It looks like they're having such a great time. Bette Midler is just such a ginormous ball of energy in this. Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Najimy are both definitely lovable ditzes. And I love the camaraderie that these three have with one another. And there's a really interesting backstory that's established with these three women here. The opening sequence of this movie I thought was really fascinating, where it establishes these three witches as youngsters. And it kind of establishes a tone of what this movie is going to be like and what kind of messages are going to be there. Sisterhood above all else. And that leads to a really heartwarming ending between the three as well. But the three witches and their storyline together is probably my biggest positive, along with the production design here. I mean, just look at these costumes. These are well fit for the fall season. It gets you right in the mood for Halloween. Nelson Coates, the production designer, really does a great job capturing these witches with the costumes and everything like that. And plus, it's 2022, so I'm sure people who grew up with the original Hocus Pocus movie are going to really love seeing the updates to the CGI and everything like that, which to me really wasn't anything all that special. It was just interesting to see modern effects with the Hocus Pocus story. But that really does lead me into my big issue with Hocus Pocus 2, doesn't it? It's the story. Because without really spoiling anything, Hocus Pocus 2 is basically established as another one of those legacy-style movies. Think along the same lines of Star Wars The Force Awakens. Think along the same lines of the Halloween movie that came out a few years ago. Think along the same lines of Scream 5, which came out at the beginning of this year. Hocus Pocus 2 is really trying to find its way into that pantheon of legacy movies. And the only way it could have done that is establishing some really amazing new characters while also paying glowing tribute to the old. Hocus Pocus 2 does a great job of the latter and the tribute to the three witches and everything like that. The Sanderson sisters easily were the most entertaining part of this movie. On the other hand, the former, not so much. Which I hate saying, because these actors look like they're trying their hardest, and it looks like they're having a very fun time. But these new characters that Hocus Pocus 2 introduces are hollow. Like, there is not a single interesting personality trait that I could have dissected out of any of these people. Heck, even Tony Hale is in this movie in a pretty big role. Disney really likes utilizing Tony Hale, don't they? I mean, not that that's a bad choice. I mean, Tony Hale's a really good performer, but I'm just noticing a pattern here. And I hate to admit it, guys, I just wasn't really laughing all that much at Hocus Pocus 2 either. I thought a lot of this comedy was downright awkward. Now, granted, the first Hocus Pocus does have some awkward moments thrown in there, but this one feels more like it's half full on the awkward rather than half empty with Hocus Pocus 1. And I just didn't really find the movie all that funny. It's built as a comedy, it's supposed to be presented as a comedy, but a lot of the jokes really just fell flat on me, unfortunately. There was one sequence where I found myself laughing quite a bit when the Sanderson sisters are searching through a Walgreens and they're browsing around in there for some food or whatever you want to call it for them. All in all, guys, I wasn't really all that hyped about Hocus Pocus 2 as someone who never grew up with it. So the hardcore fans of this first film will certainly have a lot more fun with this sequel than I did. And the resounding emotion of this finale is sure to get to those fans for sure. This movie really just didn't strike me as one of the great legacy movies that we've gotten over this past decade or so, and we've gotten a lot of them. I'm gonna give Hocus Pocus 2 a C. I'm sure that grade is gonna disappoint a lot of people, but that's just how I freaking feel. Hocus Pocus 2 certainly is not a bad movie, but I wanted it to be a lot more fun and a lot better than it was. It's kind of mediocre, unfortunately. But let me know what you guys thought of Hocus Pocus 2 down in the comments section below. Let me know if you grew up with the first Hocus Pocus and your memories surrounding it. But if you're a new viewer, welcome. Do consider smashing that subscribe button and hit that notification bell right next door. And do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button on your way out. That would all be tremendous help, my friends. Stay tuned for more exciting content hitting my channel very, very soon. In case you're wondering, I have yet to see the new movie Smile, which is in theaters right now, and it looks super ultra creepy. I'm definitely curious to check that out too. And speaking of scary, I'm going to be chugging right along in my Halloween special throughout the entire month of October. 13 titles that we have all put together and compiled that list. Thank you all so much for sending in your requests for that list, and it was a lot of fun to put it together, and I can't wait to reveal all of those titles as we go through it. But y'all are the best, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and with all that being said, Back Talk, commence!